everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. The MCU's fourth phase has been interesting to say the least so far. But now we've got the 26th movie from this universe, directed by Oscar-winning director Chloe Zhao. As it's a cosmic adventure with its plot very much under wraps, I was quietly looking forward to this one. So this is Kia's Reviews, and this is my review of Eternals.
You like the costume?
We need to talk.
Tell the director I have some notes for him.
We need to talk to you in private.
Oh, Karan, he's worked with me for 50 years. I trust him completely. Actually, when we first met, he thought I was a vampire, and he tried to stake me through the heart.
I have apologized so many times.
Not quite enough times. Very close, though. I'll let you know. Oh, I have to get ready for the next scene. Come to my tent. We'll talk there.
Eternals is not like any other Marvel movie that you've ever seen before, as it goes in the direction of a grounded, darker superhero story. Directed by Chloe Zhao, who is fresh off winning Best Director and Best Picture with Nomadland earlier this year, the cast, the cinematography, and the visual effects in this film are gorgeous. Aside from Avengers Endgame, Eternals is the longest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far, and it really had no need to be. A story that is so excessive in its material, jumping back and forth through past and present sequences, provided a hard-to-follow timeline with its disjointed structure and introduction of its characters. Some critics call this a disaster or a terrible movie. Some even say that it's the worst Marvel movie ever created. I can assure you it isn't at the depths of Captain Marvel or Thor: The Dark World, but it misses the mark on being a memorable entry. I can't say that I was particularly excited to see Eternals as a movie, but I was more looking forward to seeing what direction Chloe Zhao would take. After Nomadland, I hoped that she could put this formulaic structure in the majority of Marvel's movies nowadays aside in order to make something brand new, with unheard of characters, a strong story, and a nice mixture of action and comedy. She delivers this incredibly diverse new story and directs this fourth phase into a darker tone. Did the film need to be 2.5 hours long? Not at all, but it's obvious that a lot of her vision for this movie probably was cut, as there are a few scenes that have caused controversy recently, namely the sex scene towards the beginning of the film. I feel like this scene didn't need to be controversial at all, and I don't accept the defense that it's a Marvel movie for kids. It's an M-rated film for mature audiences, so it's bound to have sequences like sex scenes or coarse language. Also, it was so brief. I've seen movies with more intense sex scenes that were rated M, so stop making such a big deal out of it. If controversy like this turns you away from seeing Eternals, I'm glad, because obviously you're not mature enough to see this film. I'm actually quite astounded that Chloe took this major opportunity to introduce a lot of different subjects that are such a massive part of this current world that we live in, and then put them into a major blockbuster. It was a gutsy but necessary move. The character development in Eternals is so off, and that's not because of the messy story, it's because of how the film has been presented in a non-linear way. By frequently jumping back to events in the past and then returning to the present, the 157-minute runtime drags on and becomes, unfortunately, the most boring entry into the MCU. The way the story was told heavily impacted the emotional value that the audience could have potentially had for each of the group's members, but because major events happened before we got to know who everyone was, all possible attachment was wiped away and left the movie emotionless. You don't get enough time with one character in order to care about what happens to them, and once the third act comes around, you just feel like you don't care about anything else happening, and that's definitely how I felt. However, it's characters like these that the Disney Plus shows need to focus on in order to familiarise the audience with the new characters, and then build up to a big team-up movie like this. The absence of character development or audience attachment was felt the entire time. If the storytelling was done in a linear way, I think this would have been so much better than it was.
Watch out!
Who is it?
As I said before, Eternals isn't Captain Marvel bad, it's just not great. It has its redeeming qualities with highlighting A-list actors with their great performances, namely Angelina Jolie, can't believe I just said that, Kumail Nanjiani and Richard Madden. I don't have enough time to go on about all three, but I'd like to focus on Kumail's role and performance for the time being. He's known as a comedian, and he has the best jokes of the film, but I loved the level of seriousness that he captured, and that's always been a feature of comedians that I've been fascinated with. Many actors that rely on comedy can really act in a dramatic role with the right guidance and a decent director. The multicultural casting in this is pristine, and to see that this doesn't have a white-centric cast or a specific culture-centric cast was impressive, and really had cast members from all sections of the world. I absolutely loved that.
Ikaris!
Evening, ladies.
Eternals is definitely one of my least favourite Marvel films, which is disappointing to say when you have such an amazing director attached. Even though it attempts to tell a cohesive story, the direction of where Chloe Zhao took this film was definitely in the right vein of creating something new and diverse, but you could tell that her entire vision wasn't fully realised. I'd like to see more future MCU projects take risks, like this one did, and then Marvel can learn from the risks that they took and move on, because they have enough of a worldwide audience to create a big turnout at the box office, even if they aren't critically acclaimed. Marvel, I'm not telling you to abandon your formulaic movies, but please continue trying to make something new and different. I'm giving Eternals a 5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Are you looking forward to seeing Eternals? Let me know below. As always, be sure to have a look at my previous movie review of Last Night in Soho, as well as my reaction to DC Fandom 2. This has been Kia's Reviews, signing off for now.
Don't forget to like, follow, and obey.